And Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Mark Allen, and this is Mark Allen's Culinary Adventures. How are you? Did you have a good New Year's? We did. We're pre recorded a show for this week, and we're going to talk to our friend who really has gone above and beyond. Okay, we'll talk about that. We've got a very healthy dish, not only for you, but our food today is planet healthy as well? We'll find out as Mark Allen's Culinary Adventures takes to the air. Hi again. Welcome to everybody. We've got a great show, an easy recipe for all of you couch potatoes, and it's so super healthy. I mean, this should take maybe a half hour, 25 minutes. We're going to be spending a little bit more time because we're going to be talking about that. Let's bring in our guest, Cathy. And Cathy, welcome to the Mark Allen's Culinary Adventures.
Thank you, Mark. I'm thrilled to be here.
So you've got a brand new book out. We'll show you that right now. Cathy Katin-Grazzini. Did I get that halfway right?
Perfectly.
All right, good. This is a book that I find really interesting. It's Love the Foods That Love the Planet. I want to show you something. Before Cathy, I didn't know this, okay? So I have some asparagus here, and normally what I would do, we need to, yeah, I would be, I would cut it about here and throw this part away, this part. But today, we're only going to be using this part. I actually broke that off. Cathy taught me that trick about a week ago. Cathy, is it true that we spend so much time making food that we throw away a good chunk of it? I mean, with the asparagus, it's a great example.
It's absolutely true. In our food system, sadly, from 30 to 50% of the food that's grown never makes it to people's mouths, or it goes through the whole supply chain and ends up in our landfills. Now, that doesn't mostly happen in our kitchens, but a portion of it happens in our kitchens. So that's one of the topics in Love the Foods That Love the Planet that I try to help home cooks eat for the planet, to lower our individual greenhouse gas emissions, and to reduce loss and waste just by thinking a little more creatively about really nutritious parts of foods that we just don't love enough. And this is an example of that in this recipe.
So let me point to this part of the asparagus. This is the woody, pulpy stuff. Is that edible?
Yeah, it's not the way it is so much, which is why we normally break it off or cut it off, and people tend to toss it, or maybe they throw it in their compost if they have a garden. That's at least something. But in this recipe, I show you how very simply you can cook the woody pulpy ends, as you call them, of the asparagus into a delicious, velvety, smooth, and really luxurious creamed or blended soup, let's say, which
Well,
is
it's
perfect.
a cream soup, but there's no milk, there's no dairy.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. I cream because of the texture, not because of
right.
the ingredients. Yeah, yeah.
You're 100% plant-based,
I am. I am
and your
indeed.
family is as well?
We are, all of us.
Wow. Was that an easy thing to adopt? I know that you did that for health reasons for your husband.
Many years ago, my husband had a health scare, and we learned that this was really the healthiest way for him to recover. And indeed he has. And for all of us, because who amongst us doesn't have a family history of chronic degenerative diseases? And when you eat these high fiber, wonderfully nutritious, rich in antioxidants, plant-based foods, and keep the level of fat really low, it's amazing how inflammation goes down in the body, and it's just a very, very healthy way to eat. And all sorts of conditions can be prevented and even reversed in many cases. So that was our case, and it's really worked beautifully.
We're gonna start cooking in a second. Prior to your husband's health scare, were you a chef already, or did you go back to school?
No, this was a life change for me. So when we realized, the best chance that he had, because there was really no procedure or medication. He had a chronic illness that was degenerative. This was really lifestyle was where we had to look to really help him. And in fact, it has worked beautifully, and all sorts of other minor problems evaporated at the same time, which we didn't even bargain for. It's like a new lease on life. So it was very helpful for us. But after that, I realized if I was going to be cooking exclusively with plants, I was going to have to learn a couple of new tricks of the trade. And I always loved to cook, so I went to undertook professional culinary training and started on a whole new path.
Well, I'm gonna try this now. What we've already done, because watching boiling um, asparagus is kind of boring. So I already did that. Carol and I did that early. I'm just gonna. It tastes like asparagus.
Yeah.
It's soft, right?
Yeah,
And
it just takes, depending on the thickness of the stems, it just cooks at a different rate than the upper part of the spear. So that's why it is good to cook them separately, because these will all cook at the same speed, whereas the spears would be overcooked and,
oh,
disintegrate if
yeah.
you cook them
Well, and
intact.
the way I cook the spears, I roast them. I put a little bit of olive oil on them, and actually either garlic or mustard seed or thyme, something, and roast them. And it takes about 10 minutes, 12
Yeah.
minutes, and they're delicious. All right, we're going to start cooking. We have our Vitamix here. I'm going to put all of this into the Vitamix.
So what I like to do, because it's never exactly the same every time you make it, is I know you've reserved the cooking water. We're not going
Yes.
to use very much of it at all, but this is sort of a personal choice. I like this soup so that it's fairly on the thick side, but not really dense, but you don't want it to be watery either. So you're going to try to blend that without adding any water. And you'll only get so far. You'll need to add some of the cooking liquid, but maybe a half a cup at a time, and then test it to see if it's a consistency that you and Carol would enjoy for your soup.
Got it. Okay, we're going to go back here. Carol, can you hand me my towel? I left it over there. Um, uh, do I put any? Yeah, just throw it to me. Yay! Um, uh,
I season this soup very lightly because it's asparagus has got such a beautifully delicate floral flavors. You don't want to drown it out with seasonings. So you want to have a light hand with where you go, so you can taste the asparagus, which is, a lot of the pleasure. So just simply use a little pepper, white pepper, black pepper, whatever you have, and a little nutritional
do
yeast.
I put it in
And
now?
yes, but
A little
yeah,
bit.
but again, so let me give you the proportions, and it's always better less is more, because you could always add. Again, you don't want to overpower it. So when I make this, I usually it could be actually you did 2 pounds of asparagus, right? So
Right.
the recipe actually calls for two of those 2 pound bunches.
Right.
So we're going to half the amount of seasoning,
Right.
because you don't want to overshoot it. So just start with a teaspoon of nutritional yeast, and maybe 4 or 5 grinds of pepper, and then we'll taste as we go. I add white miso instead of salt, to
So
because
I'm
it's
adding. I'm adding the. the nutritional yeast. What is it? This is Bragg's nutritional yeast. I'm
Yep.
trying to add a whole teaspoon.
Just a
There we go.
teaspoon to start.
What is that?
So,
I've not
so
cooked with it much.
oh, it's in the plant-based world. It is a boon. It's just a great thing. It's got some nutty, cheesy, it's umami flavors that really enhance a dish without being too strong. It's just delightful.
Okay.
But again, just a teaspoon. And uh, for you, you're used to salting your food. We're going to be using miso instead. So right now, we're not going to salt it. Do you have your white miso paste?
Yes, and that's right here.
Have you diluted it in a little bit of water? Just
I have
a
not.
couple of okay, so just take a couple of teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and put in 2 tablespoons of water. You want to be able to break it down a little bit so it blends. I mean, it will blend in the soup eventually, but just so you give it a little head start.
Got it. Okay. And we
You
did
could
get
always
the,
add more, but we're not going to add it all. We're just going to add a tablespoon right now of it diluted. So just add a little bit and with a fork, mix it up so that it becomes a paste, but not a solid paste, more like a thick sauce
okay.
so that it's pourable.
No, I've not used, I'm splashing all over myself.
Yeah, if you need a little bit more water, you can add it, but it's just so you can pour it. If it's still so dense that you can't pour it, I'd add a teeny bit more.
And we're going
It
to add a
doesn't
little
take
bit more
much.
water. One of the
Yeah,
things that
just a
we
little bit
do,
because in no time it becomes very watery. So again, you
one of
just
the
go.
things that
You'll
we
get a
do
feel
here,
for it. But miso is wonderful not only because it's and there are all different kinds of miso paste. The white miso is very mild. Again, sort of cheesy characteristics, those umami notes that really enhance the dish. But we don't want to overpower this. We just want it to be a support player.
right.
Um,
Now, you
and
said something about salt. And uh, when I was growing up, my mom cooked with very little salt, and Carol's mom did the same. Um,
okay,
not for
so
health
that's
reasons, but
better for
because,
you because salt is not great for your arteries. It's not great for your gut, and it
right.
really kills microbes. So it's not so good for the gut microbiome, which
But you
now
still
know
need
is
salt to live.
it still has salt in it, but interestingly, studies out of Japan have shown, human studies, that it lowers when you have miso soup, for example, will lower, compared to controls, lower people's blood pressure and their heart rate. And, sodium and salt has the opposite effect. So
Absolutely. What
something
I'm going to
about the
do,
fermentation with the koji mold, and I don't know if they've really understood the mechanisms, but it's actually beneficial for us.
all right, I'm
And
back
it's
here,
live probiotic food, so you're getting that benefit too.
and miso is made from soy.
Not exclusively, but most commonly is soy
It is.
that's
Okay.
inoculated with a culture.
All right, how
Um,
much
uh,
should I put in of this miso?
I would just put a tablespoon in for now,
All right,
just so you can taste it better. Because if it tastes too bland for you, you won't be able to, you
got it.
know,
All right, so I've
get it.
done that. I haven't put in how many grinds of salt?
Not salt, no salt, no salt. Pepper, you
No,
mean?
I'm at pepper. I'm at pepper. I
Yeah,
can't
okay.
read. What? I'm at
Pepper,
pepper.
I would put like 3 or 4. I like things a little peppery, but again, it depends on your taste. Not too much.
Yeah, we do like
That
pepper.
that's plenty. And then put about a half a cup of your cooking water if you haven't done that already. I
Okay,
couldn't see. So it's just to facilitate the blending right now, but we don't want a watery soup.
there.
You could always, again,
I
as I
think I
said, you
got
could,
everything in here now.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Ah, I did a heavy, we'll do a little bit more.
What are you putting in there now?
Got it. Okay. She said, what are you putting in there now? I put in the extra miso. Okay. And Carol, can you hand me the blender stick? Okay, one blender stick. And because this is mostly asparagus, it's not going to splatter up, but just in case.
Oh
Because
yeah,
otherwise I'll be cleaning
it can
ceilings for
splatter.
a week.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Right? I should turn this on.
Let it rip.
Here we go.
Yeah, keep it going.
Now this is probably a little bit thinner than you would like it. But
well, you could always, if you overshot it with the water, you could always add, well, your other asparagus isn't cooked yet, so I guess there's nothing really you could add there.
let's take a look here. Oh, I'm going to show it to you right there. Oh, it smells good.
Yeah. So did it has to be really velvety everywhere. Did it dissolve
Got it. So
entirely?
it does need some more blending. Okay. And there we go. Now, I've noticed, and I'm going to show it to you. I guess I should show it to you now. It's pretty smooth. Let's get a spoon.
Yeah. Well, before you do anything with it, you also want to taste it.
Ah, so it still needs to be
Oh yeah.
blended.
Well, keep blending it. It's got to, all those fibers have to disappear.
Got it. We want all that to be gone.
Absolutely chopped up. So you don't want to have a mouthful of, even tender fibers. You want it to be completely dissolved in the liquid. And that will thicken it up a little bit too.
All right. I'm going to turn this on high.
Definitely. Put it way up
Just
there.
to make sure that and let's look
Yeah,
again.
you really cannot over blend this. So if you want to give it another minute, that's fine. I usually let it go a good minute or two on high.
All right. Here we go, folks. A minute or two on high. Whoop. I think
So take a little taste. If you're still tasting fibers individually, you need to blend it another minute.
all right, I'm going to taste it. It's got a good taste.
Does
I
it
like
have,
this is one of the first, I have to tell you, Kathy, this is one of the first recipes I've ever made that doesn't have garlic. Doesn't doesn't have garlic.
I love garlic too, but we don't have to put it everywhere.
Yes,
Again,
exactly. I
but
can't
you
do garlic ice cream. This is a potato. Um, what
ricer,
is it? Ricer.
ricer.
Yeah, potato ricer. So I've been cooking some potatoes. Now I did a little change to make them cook faster in the microwave. I cut them in half. We have baby Dutch yellow potatoes, and
Okay,
we had these last week, and they were absolutely fabulous. And
wonderful.
from Melissa's, of course, yeah. And here's our Melissa. You know, I forgot our Melissa camp. We had a tremendous lunch yesterday at Melissa's in here in Vernon, California, just outside of Los Angeles, and we had, was it 12 different dishes? I mean, it was just amazing.
You're going to mix breadcrumbs, arrowroot, nutritional yeast, pepper, granulated onion and garlic, some dried herbs. You'll add miso too. Yeah, that looks good. When you feel like there are no big clumps of miso, because you don't want to bite into a big thing of miso. You want it to flavor everything. So just
Got it.
push it against. Once you've broken it up and it's kind of just distributed well,
I'm gonna.
yeah, you can pull out the skins if you want because they're not helping you now.
Now, always thought that the skin of the potato had a lot of nutrients in it.
It is great for you, absolutely. But in this, you don't want to get a clump of skin in your crouton. That wouldn't be. But
All
if,
right, let's see what happens
clearly,
here. I'm going to turn this so that you can
you could
see.
reuse those somewhere, but just maybe not in this dish. Okay, give it a good squeeze.
Ah,
I mean, that really should be enough. But if it's possible, you'll need to reheat a little more if not. But okay,
I
so
have more
quickly,
potatoes.
I know. So quickly mix it together. Yeah. Get it all distributed. And then as soon as you can handle it, squeeze it together with your hands. If it's still not really gathering, I would add just a teaspoon of water. But you just don't want it too wet
Got it.
because then
I think we
you,
need the water.
well, go very slowly because it won't take
Okay.
much. Because you've got to roll it out. If it's a wet dough, you won't roll, it will just create
Right.
a whole bunch of other issues.
I've got
Yeah,
a
usually.
rolling pin over there too.
Wait,
So,
wait, wait, don't spill it. Use a teaspoon. Dip a teaspoon into there and just sprinkle it on top.
my spoon is gone. So, there.
Because believe me, if it's too wet, that'll be a whole lot worse. You could always add more, but you can't take it away.
It's
Did it help?
it's not sticking well. I think it needs more liquid.
All right, just go slow. Well, I think you need to knead it instead of just pressing it. So, have you ever kneaded dough like for bread? You kind of
Yes.
use the palms of your hands to, yeah, and then
Ah,
flip it over and do it on the other side. If it doesn't hold together, you might need more water. I mean, it's incredible.
I'm just, yeah.
Some potatoes are waxier, some potatoes are more floury. They so it's hard to know why this is taking longer, but it's all good. You'll get there. It's just have to take a little patience.
I have no patience. I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor.
So really, yeah, roll it over. Sort of push with your palms and flip it over. If it's not rolling like that, if you still need more water, I guess give it a little more. I see a
I'm
lot
going
of
to add
crumbs.
just a tad more,
Okay.
just to hold it through. There was, all right. Thank you, Carol.
Because we're going to need to roll it out to about a 1/4 inch thick. And And yeah, it's extraordinary.
All right. We're
I've
making,
actually even made this instead of with breadcrumbs. Now, that could be also true. I use whole wheat breadcrumbs. They're not as absorptive as white breadcrumbs. So that
ooh,
could be a reason why this is sucking up more water.
could be.
Every time an ingredient is slightly different, you'll get different results, which is why, like a chemist, you first time through, you want to kind of stick with the recipe so you can anticipate more or less where it's going to get you. But this will get you there. It's just a little longer.
Okay. I'm going to bring out the rolling pin now, I think.
Why don't
Wait,
you flip it over? Is it still holding together when you flip it over? Yeah,
almost.
almost.
A little bit more water.
Perhaps, yeah. It really has to all come together.
There.
And then, kind of wipe it all over the surface so you can yeah, there you go. So you can gather up all those little crumbs that remain so that you've got one thing of dough instead of, briciolini little crumbs there.
Right.
All right, that's looking a little more
Yes.
recognizable.
There we go.
Okay. So at this point, I would put your nonstick pan on low. You never want to overheat a nonstick pan.
Right.
Um, you could always raise the heat once you're cooking with it, but for right now, just to give it a head start, and then you'll have, it can warm up. Um,
There.
um, and if it doesn't hold together, you're going to need a little more water. But it looks like it should.
Now it's not as, when you get the book, you'll see that.
Here, flip it over and roll it on the other side. That'll.
I'm going to sprinkle some water on it.
Yeah, I bet it has to do with the white crumbs. Now that I think about it, I think that's good.
All right. So,
Um, Now, before you cut them,
right.
you look like you might be like a half an inch taller. You're like a quarter inch. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
roll it in different directions so you're leveling it everywhere.
good. Now these are not going to be as straight as yours.
Well, wait, before you cut them, there's a way to
Okay.
help that. Do you have a ruler?
A which?
A ruler,
Oh,
a
a
straight
ruler.
edge.
No, do not.
Nothing with a straight. Okay, you can use a chef knife if you're careful, and you can just, no, that's not big enough. You need a big blade to just square off the sides. Otherwise, you'll have no, 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 don't, no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no. You don't want to. You don't want to cut it because you're going to waste all of that, and we're
got it.
trying not to waste. So push that back together. Okay. And if you need to roll it, you can roll it. No, what I want to do here, take a look at me. So, what you want to do carefully.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. You want to hold your blade with the blade side up very carefully. If this is your straight edge, so it's flat on the board, and just push it together on the four sides a couple of times so you get your square edges on the edge.
Oh,
Yeah, create right angles. The more you can, it should be soft enough and malleable for you to do that. And that way you can maximize the number of croutons you get. There you go. And just do that a couple of times on all sides till you don't have any more round corners. Everything is square. Now I should tell people, since we're dealing with the croutons, I've actually done this not with breadcrumbs, but I've even used instead of breadcrumbs, I've used the debris in shredded wheat. Your
Oh,
bags of
wow.
shredded wheat cereal work beautifully, and it's a great way to reduce waste here too by using the crumbs that what else you may not want them in your cereal, but they make for a really crunchy and fun crouton.
Okay. All right. We got to move on. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
So now
So,
you want to just create the size that you want. Have you squared it off as well as you can? Yeah, now flip your blade so the sharp part is down. Yep. And just create squares or rectangles as you like.
yes, I'm going to do
And then
rectangles
they can
first.
all go in your frying pan. But before you put them in the frying pan, try to make them equal sizes. And yeah, there you go. So they're holding together now.
Yeah. All right.
So the point of the croutons is that it's not only a nice garnish for the soup, but it's a way of repurposing old bread. If you have stale bread, all you have to do is rub it with garlic and maybe sprinkle it with pepper and thyme, and there's your crouton.
Yes.
Or you can use fresh bread and toast it and do the same. But if you don't have bread, or if you have old shredded wheat or breadcrumbs, then this is what you would do after all this work.
Yes. We're going to have a great dinner tonight. Okay. I'm going to smooth this out.
Yeah. Take a peek at those
Mm,
croutons. How are they doing?
they're they're good. All right, let's take a look first of all at the Melissa cam one more time. And the Melissa cam shows just a variety of, of what we have: onions and garlic, potatoes, a little glow, uh, pink glow pineapple, some limes, and some lemons. Thank you very much, Melissa's. We really, really appreciate that. We have an asparagus soup that we've made with the help of Cathy. And of course, uh, we didn't use the spear of the asparagus. We used the stalk, the end of it, and making this sustainable. Now we're going to dress this with a few chives. I like a lot of chives, but I'm not doing that. You have um, chili threads. I've never seen that.
But I can show you. I got them right
Yeah,
here. Just
let's see.
all right. So you can buy these online. They're not always easy to find locally. Of course, in California, everything is possible if it's culinary. Um, they're wonderful. Just a little bit of let's see if I can.
Ah,
There really
got it.
are threads. They're really delightful. Just a little spicy, a little heat there, and they're beautiful. You can crumple them up. You can create a little ball, and they just are a lovely garnish on top of things. It's just
It's
kind of fun
it,
to do. But
well, I'm going to
it
put a little bit of chili flakes on
that'll
like
do
that.
just fine.
And these are red chili flakes, crushed red chili flakes. Um, and now it's time to taste.
Wait,
Oh,
your
I forgot the
crouton.
croutons. What am I thinking? First, I'm going to taste the soup. I know it's your recipe, but I cooked it.
You
It's
sure
really
did.
good. It's
Yeah.
really good. It's really nice. And now let's try a crouton. That's the best crouton I've ever eaten. I don't like croutons. Mm. Oh, the seasoning comes out in that. It's really good. Cathy, this has been terrific.
Well, you're terrific, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing this recipe. I hope your audience enjoyed it. It's such a fast recipe and really tasty, and such a great way to eat for the planet.
It really is. So, Love the Foods That Love the Planet is the name of the book. Cathy Katin-Grazzini. And
Bravo.
And I have to tell you, one of the recipes I can't wait to try is the borscht. You said it reminds you of your dad, and it
Yeah.
reminds me of my dad as well. Anyway, thank you very much, Cathy. Happy New Year to you and your family. Thank you.
And to
And
you.
Happy New Year to you. We've got some really exciting things coming up here on Mark Allen's Culinary Adventures. We'll have something really, really cool for you next week. We'll see you then. Bye bye for now.